All right, everybody, this is your stance video. So I'm just gonna cover the three basic stances: the walking stance, the back stance, and the front stance. So let's get started. So first we're gonna do the walking stance. The thing is to remember with this one is it's shoulders width in every way. So my feet are gonna be shoulders width to start like this, and when I bring one leg straight back, as if I am on a small train track, okay? Then this leg comes back on one of those tracks. I never come in or make it too skinny. I always want to stay on those two train tracks this way. And then, so I'm shoulders width this way, and if I turn here, I'm going to be shoulders width lengthwise and widthwise, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do a close-up on my feet. All right, so as you can see, pretty close. When you step forward with this footwork, you have two choices. Go straight forward on that train track, okay? Or you can do a half moon. So I come in and go out, in and out. And that would be forward or backwards. So when I'm going this way, it's very much like I'm a robot or feeling like you're a robot. You don't bend your knees, but you don't lock your knees. You just stand comfortable. All right, so I'm going to do just a few movements forward and backwards. With any of these videos, I'm only doing so many repetitions or so many movements. You should feel free to add on more so that you're getting more out of your training at home and more of a workout. I'm just giving the rundown and the quick lesson. You got to take the control and do more on your own. So here's walking stance in movement forward and backwards, just one time. So I'm going to do the train track style. So I'm coming like this. I don't care what you do with your hands. You can do this if you want. It's good for pumse or form practice. I'm just going to relax, okay? And come forward. Every once in a while, check your feet. Make sure that you're approximately shoulders width. If it's not, it's okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the back stance. All right, back stance. So with the back stance is a little bit more tricky. I'm going to go sideways here. Start with your feet together. Take one leg, turn it to the side, and you want the back of your heel touching the inside of the heel of the other foot. So you make like an L shape. Then I'm going to move 2.5 to 3 of my own feet forward with the leg that's on the side. So I'm going to lift my toes on my heel up and then put my heel down where my toes are once, twice, and either 3 times or a half. I find 2.5 tends to be pretty good. Then you sit equally in the middle. You do not lean forward, and you definitely never lean backwards. You don't want this kind of thing going on with your front leg. So you just sit directly in the middle. You'll find that about 60% of your weight is on the back leg and about 40 is on the front leg, because I'm going to be going this way. Now I also tend to keep my shoulder back so I can put my hand in chamber if that helps me to remember that, and the other hand can be in chamber as well, and then my head faces the direction I'm going. It's very easy to kind of bring this forward, so you're going to make sure that you don't do that too often. However, there are forms where we do come forward, or you can even punch forward. But for pre-training, just stay relaxed, keep that shoulder back. To move forward is tricky. You're going to take your front foot and turn it out. Now this is a good beginner thing. Later on you kind of just do it as you're progressing forward. But at first it's always good to turn the front foot, then move the back foot straight forward. Okay? So we're going to show you a close-up of that a little bit more. So again, just so you can see, I have my feet about 2.5 of my own feet apart from one another. My heels are aligned. Okay, so if I was to draw a line there, you can see that they're pretty much on the same path. All right. So front foot turns out, back foot turns and steps forward here. Going backwards, you take the back foot, turn the heel back, so now that foot is straight, slide the front foot back and turn sideways. Never leaning forward, never leaning back, keeping your weight even. All right, so just a little bit more movement training with the back stance. So from the front, step. From the front, step. And then if I'm going backwards, from the back, step. From the back, step. Add a few more laps if you like. All right, the final basic stance, the front stance. So front stance and walking stance are very similar. So I want you to start with your legs approximately shoulders width apart, and then move one of your legs out to the side a little bit more. Bring that leg straight back approximately 2 of your shoulders widths. So I'm going to come straight back pretty far, okay? Now I want my front leg to bend just so that I can see my kneecap, or I can just barely see my toes. No more than bending it enough that you cannot see your toes. That's far enough. You don't need to make an extreme bend on this front leg. You don't want it to be too deep or too long that you can't move from it. So we want to have this leg at a slight angle here. My back leg is completely straight, and I would like to try to get my toes to be straight. That's pretty hard for a lot of people. A lot of you might have your legs out, your toes pointing out a little bit due to a lack of flexibility. Keep trying to get it to be straight, but out a little bit to the sides, perfectly natural, perfectly okay. Now, I can test to make sure the width and the length is correct by turning both of my feet at a diagonal, and then when I sit, I should be in a good horse riding stance. So 2 shoulders width, okay? So I'm gonna turn like this. Moving forward and backwards in this is just like with walking stance. I'm gonna use a train track motion with this. And the only trick is you don't want to rise up and go down. So if I'm gonna step forward, I don't wanna stand up and then go back down. I have to keep my head at the same level the whole time, okay? Which will be seen easier when I do it side to side.
Okay.
All right, so here in the close-up, you can see back leg is straight. A little bend is okay, but try to keep it pretty straight. And toes are straight on both of my legs. I can just barely see my toes of my left leg. My back is up straight, and my hips and my shoulders are square, which you'll see more when I do the side view. And so when I move forward, I just step completely forward and bend that way.
Okay.
All right, so like I was saying with in the close-up part, I want my hips and my shoulders square to the front, the direction that I'm stepping, okay? My hands can be in chamber, or you can rest them on your hip, however you want to practice, but don't slouch, okay? Stay up straight. So I'm gonna move forward in the train track motion. I find that to be easier with this one, and I wanna make sure that my head doesn't bob up and down. So when I come forward, that's the tricky part. I gotta keep this leg bent, my front leg bent, so that I can progress forward every single time. And it's okay if your feet leave the ground a little bit, but you don't want to pick them completely up. So when I move forward, I try to leave them on the ground, and that will leave marks in the dirt or in the grass or whatever wherever you're training. Back nice and straight, straight back. Our basic stances are not meant for us to hang out in or to stand in a fight scenario, okay? They are positions that you go into and leave out of, depending upon the situation for or the sparring match or a fight or whatever. The only one that you might be somewhat ready to stay in is your walking stance, because walking stance and kicking stance and fighting stance are actually pretty close to one another. So there's very little difference there. But you're not going to stay in your back stance, or especially you're not going to stay in like a front stance for a fighting position. It limits you too much. It has a purpose. For example, with the front stance, if I'm in my fighting position and I want to extend my back arm to punch someone, and I want to make sure that I got a little bit more rotation and a little bit more power, I transition my weight on my front leg in my stance into a front stance to make that punch, and then I will come back, which makes a stronger position. Walking stance is just kind of better than being standing too close. So if I have to react quickly to defend myself, it gives me a better posture and a better structure. Back stance is usually used defensively, and then you spring forward. So if someone attacks me, I'm going to move back and then come forward. It's not something I usually progress forward with offensively. So again, with the blocks and the punches, or when you see a kicking video or this video, feel free to add more repetitions or more laps, because I'm only doing a few of each. Anyway, this is the basic stance video, and I hope you enjoyed it.